LeBron James is one of the most dominant forces in NBA history, and like all-time greats, his success came at the expense of many other players and teams. While it's not fair to say he single-handedly ruined careers, there are definitely several players whose legacies, opportunities, or peaks were dimmed because they had the misfortune of running into LeBron James during their peak primes. Here's a breakdown of the careers ruined by LeBron James, whether through direct playoff domination, blocking a ring, or disrupting team dynamics. The number one victim is DeMar DeRozan. LeBron James is often called LeBronto. That's because in the Raptors era, DeRozan and Kyle Lowry were the heart of the Toronto Raptors. Together, they transformed a once-forgotten franchise into a perennial playoff team. DeRozan evolved into a four-time All-Star, a mid-range assassin, and one of the best scorers in the league as a Raptor. But there was one massive problem. Every time DeRozan thought it was his time, LeBron was there to end the party. In the playoff history versus LeBron James, 2016 Eastern Conference Finals, Cavs beat the Raptors 4-2. While Toronto had momentum, it was their first real playoff run, but LeBron James had outclassed them in every single facet. Ran into each other the next year, 2017, in the second round. The Cavs ended up sweeping the Raptors. Absolute dominance. LeBron James was smiling through fadeaways, casually destroying any hope DeRozan had. For the third straight year, in 2018, the Raptors ran into the Cavs in the second round. Cavs once again sweep the Raptors back-to-back years. This was peak of humiliation. First playoff series was the closest they have ever gotten. They only managed to win 2 games against LeBron, while losing to them in 3 years. LeBron James hit a game winner off the glass in Game 3 in 2018. While the Raptors are a number 1 seed, DeRozan was benched in the fourth quarter of Game 3 and then ejected in Game 4. Media had called Toronto LeBron Show. The legacy as the face of the franchise was shattered. He ended up having a fallout, traded for Kawhi Leonard. Despite being loyal, improving year after year, and bringing relevance to the Raptors, DeRozan was traded in 2018 for Kawhi Leonard. Masai Ujiri pulled the trigger because DeRozan couldn't get past LeBron. Kawhi was a win-now player. Kawhi immediately delivered a championship in 2019, something DeRozan couldn't do. Not because he wasn't good enough, because he had the unlucky streak running into peak LeBron during his prime. The emotional and mental toll. DeRozan later opened up about feeling betrayed by the trade, the emotional weight of being labeled as a playoff choker. He also talked about how it hurt to be cast aside after doing everything right. I gave Toronto everything, he said, but I kept getting punished for something I couldn't control. But DeRozan managed to have a great career. With the Spurs and Bulls, he became a better all-around player, still clutch, still elite in the mid-range. He wasn't talked about as much, but that's because he didn't have as much playoff success and no deep runs and no rewriting of the narrative. Because the NBA forgets when you lose to LeBron, even when it's not your fault. LeBron didn't just beat DeRozan, he rewrote his story. He cost him his city, his chance at a title, and his place in Raptors history. Today, DeRozan is still respected, but always carries an asterisk. Great player, but couldn't beat LeBron. Paul George, the star who couldn't overthrow the king. Early years, the birth of PG-13. Drafted in Indiana in 2010, after Danny Granger injuries, PG stepped into the spotlight, became a two-way superstar, locking down on defense, hitting clutch shots, and rising fast. By 2013, Paul George was ready to challenge the throne. He was supposed to be the guy to dethrone LeBron in the East. Playoff battles. In 2013 Eastern Conference Finals, Heat vs Pacers, one of the most competitive series of the decade. PG averaging 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, going head-to-head with LeBron. Famous moment, Paul George dunks on Birdman, stares down the Heat, and LeBron responds with the game winner next possession. Pacers push it to Game 7, but the Heat Big Three survived. Heat ended up beating the Pacers 4-3. Next season, Eastern Conference Finals again in 2014. Pacers were the number 1 seed. Paul George was at his peak, averaging 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, elite perimeter defense, but LeBron and the Heat were too polished. The Heat ended up winning 4-2 and eliminated Paul George once again. Paul George was this close twice to reaching the NBA Finals, but LeBron James shut the door both times. What did LeBron ruin exactly? A Finals run. Paul George had a real shot. No other East team had the mix of defense, toughness, and chemistry. The Pacers core, after back-to-back heartbreaks, Indiana blew it up. Lance Stevenson left, Roy Hibbert faded, David West declined. His rise as the guy, PG was being hailed as the next superstar, but after losing twice to LeBron, the shine kind of wore off. After the post-LeBron fallout, after 2014, Paul George suffered a brutal leg injury in Team USA scrimmage. Pacers' era ended, and he was traded to OKC. Despite rebuilding his image with the Thunder and later the Clippers, the narrative changed from next LeBron rival to pretty good number 2. Years later, even as PG put up MVP caliber numbers, he struggled in the playoffs. Way off P, pandemic P, constant criticism of not showing up. Could it all trace back to LeBron and LeBron's dominance as the most critical point in PG's rise. LeBron didn't just beat PG, he denied him superstardom. He shut down an elite team, he redirected the course of an entire franchise. PG had the talent to be the man in the East, but LeBron was the final boss, and PG never got past him. Derrick Rose, the MVP LeBron denied. In 2011, he was the youngest MVP ever. At just 22 years old, Rose led the Bulls to league best 62-20 record. He was electric, the handles, the explosiveness, the fearlessness. Rose carried Chicago back to relevance after the Jordan era. Since the Jordan era, why can't I be MVP, Derrick Rose? And then he was. But LeBron said no. 2011 Eastern Conference Finals, Bulls vs. Heat. Chicago was the number 1 seed. Rose vs. LeBron was billed as a clash of eras. Game 1, Bulls dominant. The LeBron took the matchup personally. In the final 4 games, LeBron locked up Rose in fourth quarters. Bulls lost 4 straight. Heat win 4-1. The MVP couldn't beat LeBron. The King shut down the door on the Prince. He was just 22 years old. What did LeBron ruin? A Cinderella MVP run. Rose could have gotten to the finals. He never got that chance again. A championship window. The 2011 Bulls team was young, tough, and stacked. They had Joakim Noah, Dang, Boozer, Taj Gibson. Rose later admitted that LeBron's defense was devastating. He had never been locked up like that. Then injury. In 2012, in the first round of the playoffs, Rose tore his ACL. The Bulls' championship window slammed shut. But let's be real, even if Rose never got hurt, LeBron still loomed. From 2010 to 2018, LeBron owned the Eastern Conference. The Rose Bulls, they never beat him in the playoff series. In 2013, the Heat beat the Bulls in 4-1. And back in 2015, the Cavs ended up beating the Bulls 4-2. Rose hit a game winner in Game 3. LeBron responded with a buzzer beater in Game 4. LeBron didn't just beat Rose, he erased hope. Every deep Bulls run, blocked by LeBron. Every step forward, met by the King. Even when Rose had moments of brilliance, LeBron always responded bigger. LeBron was always just a level higher. Rose ended up reinventing himself as a veteran spark plug. He dropped 50 points in 2018, getting standing ovations after all those injuries that he went through. But what if LeBron James never existed? Could Rose have won it all at just 22 years old and be a Hall of Famer if it wasn't for LeBron? He outclassed the youngest MVP in history and blocked a dynasty in Chicago. LeBron James is one of the greatest players to ever play the game of basketball. In doing so, he had ruined many great careers, players who could have won championships and continued to build on their legacy. Derrick Rose could have been a Hall of Famer. Paul George and DeMar DeRozan could have possibly won a championship to their name. But LeBron James dominated, making the finals 8 years in a row with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Miami Heat.